What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the best artifacts in each color in all of Magic. As always, our first pick for that color will be the one that the community agrees is the best, and the second pick for that color will be one that I personally agree is the best, exempting the previous card. So if we both agree, I'll just pick my second favorite. Kicking it off in white, we have Lion Sash. For 1 and a white, we get an artifact creature equipment cat. Tap 1 white, exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a permanent card, put a +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. Reconfigure for 2, 1/1. I'm a firm believer that every deck should have at least one piece of repeatable grave hate. And Lion Sash do the job. Being able to spend your open mana on hating out important permanents. You don't even have to hit permanents, honestly, but you just get bigger for doing so. And then it rewards you for hating out your opponent's grave by having a big scary equipment. Pretty rad. My pick for best white artifact is Halo Fountain. For 2 and a white, you get an artifact with tap a white, tap it, untap a tapped creature you control. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Tap 2 white, tap it, untap 2 tapped creatures you control. Draw a card. Tap 5 white, tap it, untap 15 tapped creatures you control. You win. Important thing people don't realize a lot with this card is that the untapping of creatures, it is a cost, it cannot be responded to, and it does not target, which is very important for creatures with like Shroud or protection from white or things like that. In addition, we only really care about the first 2 modes of this card. Being able to untap our dudes to surprise block with and create another body that can chump with is pretty good. Being able to untap 2 of my creatures that can now block or activate their tap abilities again or whatnot, and then being rewarded with card draw makes this one of the best card draw engines in white, in my opinion. Unlike most white, where it's super conditional, if someone does X, then you draw a card. This is, nope, I can do this every turn, guaranteed, as long as I have either creatures that are attacking or tapping for abilities. And then if you manage to get 15 tapped dudes, cool, you win the game. That's neat. But more importantly, we care about those first 2 modes, mainly the middle one. The community best blue artifact is Phyrexian Metamorph. For 3 and a Phyrexian blue, you get a 0/0 artifact creature shapeshifter. You may have Phyrexian Metamorph enter the battlefield as a copy of an artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. So you can pay 3 mana and 2 life to copy any artifact or creature on the battlefield. I agree. That's super good. But I have a much more interesting idea for the best blue artifact. Midnight Clock is an artifact for 2 and a blue. Tap, add a blue mana. Tap 2 and a blue, put an hour counter on Midnight Clock. At the beginning of each upkeep, put an hour counter on Midnight Clock. When the 12th hour counter is put on Midnight Clock, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards, exile Midnight Clock. Yes, this does take quite a while to get going, and it can be popped, but in the meantime, it doesn't sit there and do nothing. It also just adds a mana. And yes, a 3 mana rock is notoriously bad, but this is a 3 mana rock that then just draws you 7 cards out of nowhere. Pretty good, I would say. In addition, you can hasten it by activating the counters or activating the ability to put the counters on it. And being able to reset your grave is always something nice, especially if you're not constantly using your grave. And drawing 7 is always good, because I would almost assuredly guarantee that if you play this turn 3, and you're interacting and playing stuff and whatnot, you will almost certainly have less than 7 cards in your hand when the fourth or third rotation happens with Midnight Clock out. So you're just up cards, and you played a mana rock to do it, which, you know, absolutely. Like, I play Strixhaven Stadium, which is also a 3-mana rock, but that one kills people. So there is a place for 3-mana rocks if their effect is helpful to your deck strategy. The best community-chosen artifact in black is Bolas's Citadel. For 3 black, you get a legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Tap, sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. I'll be real, I don't like this card. I think that it makes your turns twice as long, and if you have something like Sensei's Divining Top, you just draw your whole deck for 1 mana each. It's boring. It's usually used as a combo card. I'm just not into it. But this list is only half about what I like. My favorite black artifact is Vorpal Sword. For 1 black, you get an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has Death Touch. Tap 5 black. Until in a turn, Vorpal Sword gains. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player dies. Equip for 2 black. You play this card early, I would almost guarantee people just forget about it until you equip it to something. And ideally, you want to put this on a deck with a lot of evasion, or a commander that either is or makes things unblockable, and then you just use it to close out a game. You know, it's definitely not a card you're like, oh man, turn 1 Vorpal Sword, you're in for it now. It's more like, I play this turn 1, it sits there, 2 mana 2/0 Death Touch is not a bad stat line, and then whenever you just have nothing else to do, or better yet, the opponent you want gone is tapped out, you just go, surprise, dead. And if they do use a removal on it, whatever, you paid 1 mana for it. Oh well. Just important to remember, use this card either with a protection spell in your hand when you go for the kill, or make sure that they're tapped out, because if you activate for 8 and they just kill it on the stack, you wasted basically your whole turn. So just be aware of that. Community's choice for the best artifact in red would be Embercleave. For 4 red, you get a legendary artifact equipment with Flash. This spell costs 1 less for each attacking creature you control. When Embercleave enters the battlefield, attached to target creature you control, equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike, equipped for 3. I agree this card is good. Being able to just pay 2 mana, assuming you have 4 attacking creatures, whatever they don't block, you can just give 1/1 double strike and trample. It's pretty rad. And then equipping it for 3 is a bit costly, but it's not the worst. And honestly, I just think that it's a pretty solid card, but not nearly as exciting as my pick. My opinion for the best artifact in red would be Cursed Mirror. For 2 and a red, you get an artifact with tap, add a red. As Cursed Mirror enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until in a turn, except it has haste. Not only is that art cool, and it very much is, but you get to have a 3 mana clone, basically the same thing you paid for the Phyrexian Metamorph, by the way, but you get the benefit of the ETB, you get the benefit of the swing trigger. If it dies on your turn, you also get the benefit of the death trigger, but you don't have to keep it as that creature, because at the end of your turn, it'll become a mana rock. So I don't know about you, but if I play, let's say, a Solemn Simulacrum, right? I would happily pay 3 mana to ramp in mono red, and then have a mana rock that can also tap for mana. 3 mana ramp 2 in red is pretty good. Pretty good, I hear, yeah. Community chosen best green artifact is Birthing Pod. For 3 and a Phyrexian green, you get an artifact with tap 1 and a Phyrexian green. Tap, sacrifice creature, search your library for a creature card with mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. Like, one-time tutors are one thing that I'm starting to get into, but repeatable tutors definitely make the game super consistent and boring, in my opinion. Yes, they do make your deck better. If that's what you're looking for, definitely slap this in your deck. But I just find it to be kinda defeating the purpose of having 100 cards in your deck. My choice for the best green artifact is the Great Henge. For 7 green, you get a legendary artifact. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Tap, add 2 green, you gain 2 life. Whenever a non-token creature enters a battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and draw a card. Kind of a lame final pick, I admit, because a lot of people like this card too, but I just like it a lot more than Birthing Pod. I would rather draw a bunch of cards and form a win con out of those pile than just search whatever I want. Plus, it also gives you more variation, and you might do things you didn't think were good combos. In addition, putting a counter on your squad every time a creature enters, you draw a card, it's able to loop itself and repeat. And then if you do have a 7-power creature, you can just pay 2 mana to then tap for 2 mana and get 2 life. It cares about CMC Matters cards. Not even a contest, honestly. I would run, easily I would run Great Henge 100 times before I ran Birthing Pod. And that does it for our list. Unfortunately, I did not want to do best colorless artifacts because that is extremely subjective, and there's way too many. You might as well have said, like, favorite creature period. It's too much. But, yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you for watching. If you agree or disagree, put it in the comments down below. We can have a healthy debate. And let me know if you want to try any of those cards that I recommended that were my favorites, the second picks, by the way, because they are super duper fun. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.